Canon have released firmware version 1.2 for their EOS R full-frame mirrorless camera. And in this video, I'm going to go through the firmware upgrade process and give you my thoughts on the new features and how the camera performs after this free upgrade. The firmware release notes describe two interesting changes to the autofocus. Firstly, you can now use iDetect autofocus in continuous burst mode. Canon also state that eye detection is now available when shooting movies. Secondly, small autofocus frame size is now available when shooting both stills and movies. The firmware upgrade process is fairly straightforward. First, check the current firmware version in the camera. You can do this by putting your camera in P mode, then scroll to the 6th page of the wrench menu. If your camera's firmware is lower than 1.2.0, you should download it from Canon's website to your computer. Fully charge your camera's battery, then insert an SD card into the camera and format it. Canon suggests using an SD card of between 64 and 128 GB in capacity. I used a 64 GB card without any issues. Remove the SD card from the camera and connect it to your computer. Now open the downloaded package from Canon's website and copy the .fir file to the root of the SD card. Return the SD card to your camera and then again set the camera to P mode and scroll to the 6th page of the wrench menu. Scroll down to the firmware version listed and press the Set button. Now simply follow the instructions on screen and the update process will start. It took mine about 5 minutes to complete. Once updated, you can see in movie mode we now have the new iDetect option, which can only be enabled in face tracking autofocus mode. Here you can see it works really well, even if your subject is wearing glasses, and it automatically switches to the nearest eye to the camera. If that was the only improvement, I'd be very pleased with this new firmware. In my opinion, the normal frame size is already quite small, so whilst this even smaller option might come in handy, I'm not sure how often I personally will make use of this feature. I've previously had an issue with the EOS R with how smoothly the camera racks focus in video. It has never appeared to be as smooth as previous Canon cameras with dual pixel autofocus, and I had hoped that this would be something Canon would fix with a firmware update. Now there's no mention of this in the firmware release notes, but I thought it was worth retesting this aspect of its performance. And from my brief testing, it looks like Canon have refined the overall performance of the AF whilst also adding eye detection. I think this is a great firmware release from Canon, and I'd recommend any EOS R owners to give it a try. But that's about it for this video. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them down below, and please consider subscribing for more videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.